Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Friday class. I have Kirk here from Space Pickle Designs. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm so glad we could have you back to join us for some more beading. You were here with us for a beading party, and I love what you made then. And I want to keep seeing what you can come up with. I love your work.
Yeah, well, thank you for inviting me back. I was glad that I didn't scare anybody off. But
so
this
fun.
box this month has been insane. Like you'll see the amount of projects that I've made and how many beads I still have left over. Like, how did you guys come up with that many beads for the box and still like make some money? Like, how?
Well, for the 4th anniversary box, like we knew it had to be full. Like, so I don't know. It's just trying to find the deals where we could find
Like,
those awesome things. And like, I think this is perfect that like this is a box inspired by the Northern Lights, the sky, and you're a big fan of space, right?
Yeah, so I'm actually in the Space Force. And so space has been a hobby for mine for about 10 years now, but including in that, I had to go to Alaska for my job. So that's where like the Northern Lights are like really prevalent. And so we've actually been able to see them in person. And so having this theme, it was like, how are you going to capture such beauty into a box? And I really think that you nailed it, because when we talk about Northern Lights, it's Aurora Borealis and we have all the AB beads. Like that would have been like a cop out, but you guys actually went and like looked at like the different colors that can manifest in the Northern Lights. And it was just like, okay.
Oh, I'm glad you approve since you've actually seen them in person. I wish I have.
Yeah, so in normal, I've only seen them a couple of times because they're like at 2 and 3 a.m. and I'm like, girl, I need to go to sleep.
Yeah.
But they are life-changing. So if anyone's seen them, just let us know down in the chat.
That is amazing. Well, today we are going to make some bracelets. That is what Kirk is joining us today. You do a fun thing on your channel where you do like earring blitz, bracelet blitz, where you make several projects with a box, with an order. And so we're going to kind of do that over here today for here on Sam's Bead Shop. What were you getting inspired by as you were thinking about these bracelets?
So my approach to like the bracelet blitzes and the earring blitzes, so I do a couple different ones. Bracelet blitzes, I like to have multiple projects in one video, so it helps me do that, but it also helps show progression. So when I get a box, a lot of times I'm overwhelmed because I'm like, and especially with Sam's bead box, I'm like, how am I going to make these beads look better than what they are, right? So I think, we look at them and we're like, this check bead is perfect. Like I can't, and so what I'll do is start with a stretch bracelet, and then maybe I'll go into something with wire, and then at the end maybe progress into stringing. And so doing those stretch bracelets first really gets kind of like those ideas flowing, and then it's not so intimidating.
Yeah. Oh, I love that approach. Well, this is great. Do you want to flip your camera over? We can start beading.
Okay, let me get there. All right.
And then I will, okay, perfect. I'm going to make yours big. Let's see. There we go. All right. All right. We're going to start making with the Northern Lights March 2025 bead box. Where are we starting? What materials do we need?
Okay, so I'll just show you starting off first the stretch bracelets. This is kind of what we do to get in the mood, get some like, hey, how are the beads playing together? And normally I will start with a straight up. If there's an 8mm round in the box, oh my gosh, that's my favorite bead, right? Like, and especially with gemstones, because they're all unique, they have so much interest of their own. I feel like you don't really need a lot, but also stretch bracelets can sometimes feel juvenile to some people. And so when I try to elevate a stretch bracelet into a, I'm a 36-year-old woman, right? So I want to make it sure it's age appropriate as well. I will put either a seed bead, or my favorite is to use demi rounds or O beads. Cool. Have you ever played around with O beads?
I think I've seen them once or twice, but I don't think I've used them.
Oh, they are so good because we all have our seed beads on hand, and they will definitely work with this, but this takes a lower profile. As you can see, I've used those O beads and those demi rounds with each one. And I think it just gives it just a little something without overpowering the beads. So I'll start with this 8O, and normally it's a gemstone, and I love it. Oh, okay, girl,
Yeah,
It's a
no, they
great,
can't just instantly wear them. That's great.
they're so easy to wear. They're comfortable. You're not worried about like dangles getting caught on things for the most part. This one does have a dangle. But then I'll progress and take, hey, I have a focal bead. Like, look at this delicious green focal here. And the amethyst.
Look
Look,
at that combo.
those amethysts are just so wild in this box. I swear. So I really feel like I didn't need much. And so I used a matte demi for this one. So I just kind of complimented it and not try to take away from it, but it still provided a little bit of something. And so once we progress from those focal beads, we can then do dangles. And so I really loved these moon and star beads. And I'm so glad we got more than one. We got like what, 5, I think? No, more than that. 7?
Actually 8 of them. Yeah, it was a long strand.
It was so good. And it's like, I know these are like expensive beads. And I was like, you know what? I just want to have one on my wrist where like I can just play with it. I honestly make bracelets sometimes just for me. Like I don't make those for other people to look at. That's like a necklace for me, right? Because I can't see it. But if I have a bracelet, I can feel the beads and I can have that, that little thing on the side where I'm like, oh, I'm petting my beads. Do you pet your beads?
Well, I mean, I'm like that with bracelets. A bracelet is definitely for myself because it's the one jewelry where like throughout the whole day, it's so easy to just keep looking at it, to fidget with it. Yeah, I love it.
Yes. So it's my favorite thing. I have so many stretch bracelets and I'm like, look, I'm a jewelry designer and I still love a good stretch bracelet.
Yes.
So never let anybody tell you can't have a stretch bracelet. Some of my favorite cording though is the Stretch Magic. I have mine in 0.7. We've got a black here, but I also use the 1 millimeter and it's just because I like the strength.
Okay.
But from here, normally I go right into, I love a beaded link. How do you feel about beaded links?
Oh yeah, making like a chain of beads with wire. That is so beautiful.
So I'll pull our materials up here. And this is kind of what we have. And so this is just a part of a completed piece up here, so I don't have to do the repetitive for you, so we can see some more projects. But I brought out 14 of those drops. And can we look at that white background with those? Oh, you can really see that two-tone in there. They are so cute.
The fuchsia.
They are so cute. And I love the little shift, especially in different lighting for that. And so we took 14 drops. We also have 14 of the 6 millimeter jump rings. And I've just simply put jump rings on these little drops here. So let me get my tools. And so I'm just going to put those on. And so nothing complicated with this one. This one at the end feels really luxurious, but hey, it's super, super simple. And that's kind of really my whole approach, even with jewelry on my channel too. Of course, we'll do a little bit of, art pieces here or there, but I really feel like those simple, like easy to wear, easy to make kind of pieces really, really are just the ones that people like to make the most. Yeah. So I've put my 14 drops on these jump rings so we can move on to our next piece, which are these beautiful. Are we seeing that? Are we seeing all the colors?
Yeah, I love it. You picked all the ones with like so much color mixing.
I know, I couldn't help it, but I saw, the reason I put these two together is because I saw a little hint of the amethyst color in there, and I was like, I want to bring that out just a little bit. So with these fire polish, I do have 10 all together, and so we did have some left over as well. So my wrist is a 6.5 inch. You could easily make it probably up to a 9, with probably longer than that. So I believe this will fit most wrist sizes. So what I do here is I just make a simple loop link and I work off the chain. Right now I work off the spool. So right now I'm just going to use this 20 gauge beadalon, and this is the German style wire because I'm using it as that core. I wanted to have a stiffer wire. We're going to bring in some Softlex craft wire later on in the next project, but I'm using German style for this one.
Nice. I'm always curious what people use, and it makes sense, especially with simple loops where you really want them to be strong on the bracelet. That's a great idea.
And especially if I can't use a larger gauge wire, or I don't want to just for like design sake, having that German style wire in the back can help you a little bit. But I love my craft wire for sure. Yeah. So if you've never worked off the spool before, hopefully this is something that you can try because it helps reduce some of that wire waste. And so this is a 1 pound spool of wire. I make jewelry every day almost, and I've had it for almost a year now.
Wow.
Yeah, so I just take my bead, I put it on the working wire, which is now still attached to the spool. And I go down there, and this is going to take some practice, just getting to know how long you want your bend to be for your simple loop. But you bend it 90 degrees, you make your loop, you pull your bead up. So I pull my bead to the end, and this is where I use my finger strength, but you can also use your tools, and I'll show you that on the next one if you have maybe some mobility issues in your hands. So I will pinch my bead, I will bend it, as you can see there. And then again, this takes a little bit of judgment, and you'll get used to it over time of how long you want to cut this to make that simple loop. So when I'm using my pliers on this side, I want to make sure my flush side is towards the bead so that we have that flush side when we cut. And so here we are. Here's our little component. And I just turn a loop. So for this, once I turn a loop, I will take 2 sets of pliers, and I'll hold on to one, and I'll take the other and just match it up. You can do perpendicular if you want. I've always done parallel or just the same kind of direction for each loop when I make these. So we'll do one more.
I love all these little tips. This is great.
Yeah, so I can't help myself. I am a teacher by day as well. So tell me if I'm over-explaining things, and I will definitely dial it back a little bit.
Oh my gosh, this is perfect. I think it's so helpful to get people's tips on just what can be this simple, basic stuff, but everyone does it a little differently.
And it's so cool because I mean, even I adapt my strategy when I see other people do things. So it's just so cool. So I'll show you how to use tools for this one, but we've put our bead back on this working wire. And if you notice, I took my cutters and I did flush cut on the end. So we're working with a flat edge. I'm going to take my pliers, make the bend as we did before. We're going to make a loop. We're going to pull our bead down. And here's where, if you have some mobility issues or you have some, lesser strength in one of your hands, because I have carpal tunnel personally. And so if I'm in between like wrist shots, then sometimes it gets a little squirrely. So I'll take my tool, and this is just my fine needle nose pliers. I'll take it a little bit away from the end of the bead here, and I'll just bend the bead over like that.
Nice.
So it gives me more of a leverage point. But if I'm feeling fresh, I'll do it with my fingers.
Yeah.
But, sometimes our wrists get tired and our pinching ability gets a little weak. So I turn some loops on these, make sure that these are the same. And so I do have 10 of these. Just pretend that we have 10 because the rest is in this portion that we've put together. So I have our jump rings here, and I love using thick jump rings. I think somebody pointed that out when I was on your show last time about the thicker jump rings. And a lot of times people want those jump rings to fade in the background. And so if that's you, definitely use the jump rings that you like. I wanted to pull some gold in here because I thought that it really helped play off the amethyst color that we have. And just having a little bit more sparkle, because that's in my mind what Northern Lights are known for, that sparkle. So what we're going to do is we're going to start making our component. So we'll take one off to the side because he's going to be a loner for now. And I'm going to take this big jump ring. Now this is a 16 gauge. And so I am using 7 of these guys, and this is a 10 millimeter size. You can go with a 12 if you want those to be more chunky, but I thought this one matched our beads pretty well. So I take our open jump ring here. I will take our drops and I feed 1 drop on. Then I take, sorry about that. We take our next fire polish bead component, feed that on. And then we have a drop, and then I will go ahead and close it. Now get your strength ready for these because these are the toughest
Yeah,
jump
that
rings.
gauge is tough.
They are so tough. And so now we have the beginning of our first component. So we're gonna
I
pick
love
up
how
in.
I'm loving the mixed metals. That is really fun.
Yes, I just wanted just a touch. I didn't want it to
Yeah.
overpower, and I wanted to include the metal tone that you guys used for this box because I mean, I love silver as well. So I take this, I put it through our fire polish bead. We can put one or drop here, put another fire polish, and then another drop. Okay, so this is what we're getting so far. Look how she's coming together.
Oh, that's great.
Pick up another. We'll feed it onto our bead. We have those. You know what? A check drop is one of my favorite beads. I know it's like very unassuming. I have so many different colors, and it's still so exciting, especially when we get them in your box, because normally there's like a glass color mix. Like it's not just your regular old olivine, you know.
Oh, I'll give you a little secret that we designed one that might be in an upcoming box that's like multiple colors on the strand, they like pop.
Don't tempt me, Rachel.
There might be some drops in the next month's box. I don't know why I'm saying this out loud. I never do, but I have to share.
Well, you know, I'm going to be looking for those for sure.
Look out for them.
So we're just continuing this process, right? And so it's just when we feed them on like that, it just shows that we have a check drop on each side of that bead. And you can put them on both on the same side if you want to. That's also a design choice, but I kind of like the offset. So I'll pull out the rest of my piece out here. And I'll put it together. But you continue on. I used only the 7 jump rings, I believe. I'll recount them. You know, I'm not strong in math. Math was not my strength. But here we go. So here's our base component. To add some length, because I just wanted to keep the check drops to the middle part, like our top part of the bracelet. I did add a separate fire polish component without a jump ring to the end of it. And so here's your component. To add length, I just added another check bead or a fire polish bead right here. And so this is where you can add length because we definitely have more of those fire polish beads in the kit.
Nice.
Or in the box, sorry. So right here, I just chose a magnetic clasp. Be mindful of using magnetic clasp, especially if you have like hardware in your body. But I just love a magnetic clasp. It's just so easy, especially with bracelets, because I'm an independent woman. I can't ask my husband each time to help me with this.
No,
because it's hard.
I put a magnetic clasp on anything that's for myself. I know some people get nervous about losing the jewelry, and I know that can't happen, but I absolutely my number one choice.
Because I'm look, I'm gonna be on live or I'm gonna be on a video. I can't be struggling in front of the masses, okay?
Whoever invented the lobster clasp was just trying to make our lives hard.
I know, but you know what? Our next project has a lobster, and I'll show you how I made it work because I'll give you a sneak peek. She's big and in charge.
Oh, that's good. That helps.
Because the little teeny ones, I can't do those.
Oh my
Not
gosh.
for a bracelet.
No
but
way.
Here's our first project, you guys. What do you think?
Oh, it is stunning. I totally see the northern lights. So much color mixing. Yeah, and I was struggling so hard. I was like, do I bring a little bit of green in here? But I kind of just liked how those two-tone and tritone beads played against one another. And that little pop of gold. So that is our first project. And I'm seeing the evolution. I mean, you from the stretch bracelet to the wire work. Because
that one's still simple, but it's it's just it's approachable, is what I like to say. So we are doing a little bit of a funky one this time. Okay, so bear with me a little bit, but I've have some materials out, and if you can peep that it's the amethyst soft flex. I just had to. I thought that was such a perfect match for this box.
That is
soft
already
flex.
so fun. So I'm excited for wherever this goes.
Yes, because I was like, those twists, they're just so
With the
special.
melon?
Like, how did you come up with, like, where did you see these twists? And you're like, yes, that's like, I've never seen a bead like that in that like matte finish.
We either used them once before in a totally different color in a previous box, or we almost used them. So like I knew they existed, and it was like when I was like, okay, I need Northern Lights. We need things that have movement, that have twists, that have wave. And so it's just like it's in my like library of check shapes that I guess I sort of store in my head. I'm like, oh, that one has that Northern Lights twist to it.
Yes. So is it you or Sam who is more of a fan of check glass? Who's the bigger fan of check glass?
I like to call myself our like check glass expert at the shop because I get to work directly with our partners in the Czech Republic who are making the custom beads for us. And so, I mean, it's just a whole world that I've been able to discover and fall in love with. I think Sam loves it too, but I mean, gemstones are his like first true love. So, and
that's so exciting though.
Yeah.
Like you get to work directly with those companies and say like, look, I've got these people here waiting for these exclusive color mixes. Like I'm so excited each time we get those.
Oh, I'm
so this next one, she's a little chunky. And if you want to use this component that we're about to make as a necklace pendant, you can do that as well. But what I'm going to do is do a little wire wrap and include some of our beads in here. And so I'm going to try to make this as approachable as possible because I am not a wire working expert by any means. But what I have here is a piece of our 24 gauge soft flex in the silver color. And I love this, this gauge for this type of thing because it provides a pretty good amount of strength, but it's also very maneuverable. So what I'm going to do is you see that we have these pinch points throughout our ring. And I love this ring, by the way. It's gorgeous. We are going to go to the thinner part. This is where we're going to start. And so I'm just going to anchor my wire on with 4 wraps. So we're going to do 1. And starting is the hardest part. 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to keep that towards the back side. So I just use my nails to kind of pinch those together to make sure they look nice and neat. And I probably should have used gold, but we are just doing simple wraps here. So what I'm going to do is feed on our bead. And this is from, I believe it was from the mix. I separate my mixes when I get them. I'm that kind of person. But I believe these are the elongated like green bicone colors. And so there's 2 green shapes I saw in there. We have like a twist, which was really cool. I believe you could probably use those as well because they're about the same size. So I'm going to start. My anchor point is kind of in the middle of the smaller portion of the ring. I bring down my next bead, and now I want to wrap over the middle part of the next smaller portion of the ring. So I'm just going to put my wire through, and instead of feeding the end back like this, I don't like to do that because it kinks up on me a lot easier. So I will just press my finger through and pull it through. And so we're going to do 4 wraps here as well. All right. And so what we kind of want to do is just make sure that our bead is sitting where we want. So in between those little areas. All right, so I need 1 more here. And I'm going to feed on another bead. Bring it down. And so now my bead is sitting right here. And we're kind of getting a stained glass vibe with this one a little bit. But
yeah, the silver seems to like reflect through the glass.
Yes. And it's like, it gives the ring a little like more color because I wanted to bring in, when I saw these beads, I wanted to bring in that emerald because it just plays so well. But we're going to continue just doing our 4 wraps again. feeding the wire with your thumb through the middle. You don't have to use the end point to bring it through. I just feel like it kinks up on me a little bit, and I don't want the wire to break.
Oh yeah, no, that is the best tip for this kind of wire wrapping.
Have you used it before, done it that way? I used to do it where I put the end in, and I'm like, why am I getting all these like kinks?
Oh yeah, no, I do the same thing. It works so well.
Mm-hmm. And it's just like something like a little counterintuitive that you wouldn't think. And so I try to point that out when I can.
And right here, as you're like placing it and bringing it over, are you starting to wrap on the same side, or are you bringing it through first, or it just doesn't really matter?
No, so I am starting to wrap on the same side that the wire just naturally comes out.
Okay.
And so with this one, since we're using 24 gauge and maybe not a 26, it stays pretty well. And we are not even going to use this as a structural component. This is purely for decoration. And so, yeah, it typically works out that way for me. But you can definitely switch it up if it feels like maybe it's leaning to one side. But for this particular one, I haven't noticed that.
Yeah, no, I love how you're sort of taking advantage of the structure of this ring and its shaping. That's awesome.
Yeah, because now it doesn't move around because it has those lovely pinch points. It kind of just stays.
Yeah. Your loops will stay in between. True.
So got this. So right here, you kind of just make sure that your bicone is where you want it to before you start wrapping. And wire is so forgiving. I do love working with wire. It's just one of the many things that is fun about jewelry making. There's so many different, like, you could do cotton cord, you can do, all the stuff. It's just so much to learn. Yeah. So I'm going to move that out of the way there. And then we're going to add one more. And the best thing about this is that craft wire is pretty affordable. And so if this is like an intimidating concept or something you've never tried, this is a pretty affordable, like, little practice that you can do.
Yeah.
Because we're only using about 15 inches of wire. Hey, here's our last bead. All right, so once we have our wraps done, I like to pick a side that I want to be the back side, and I cut it off there. And I try to kind of make it where it rests right on that middle point, the midway point of the structure of the ring. And so I clamp it down a little bit just to make sure there's no scratchies, because we don't want that. And especially if you're giving it away or selling it, just take the extra time to put the little scratchies away. All right, so here's our component. What do you think?
That is so cool. I love it.
Yeah, so what we're doing here is I've created an area where now I can put a lobster.
Oh my gosh, this is part of the clasp.
Yes, yes. So I love a statement clasp moment. If we're going to have one, especially if it's like a big old lobster claw like this, it's like, okay, well, we can't hide her, so we have to just make her a part of it. But right here, if you wanted to, you could take either a jump ring or some other type of bail, and you could actually use this as a pendant for a necklace. Yeah, and right here, where you have, like, there's some spaces in here, and you'll see when we do our bracelet part that there's attachment points. So if you wanted to do some drops, maybe you wanted to have one of those moon and star beads or your melon beads. Could you imagine if you had more of those, these check glass drops? Like, those would be beautiful as well. Look at the color. Look at that.
Yes.
Like all the gemstone colors. I'm loving it. So what I do here, this is just like, we'll just put her on here just so she knows where her home is. And it also helps as a leverage point when we're making our bracelet. And so we have the bracelet part here. And so let's go ahead and attach her to the lobster. I think that's the easiest way to do it. But this is what I've used, and this is for a 6.5-inch wrist. Again, we have more of those melon beads throughout. And even if you wanted to add in, I love those hot pink like square beads. I love those so much. They are so vibrant.
Yeah, those would be great.
Yes, you could definitely put those in there as well. But I picked these because I liked the difference between the shiny melons and those matte twists. I mean, it's just chef's kiss. So if you have never, done bead wire before, we just put our crimp tube on first. I'm using a Soft Flex crimp tube, and this is Soft Flex wire in our amethyst. Is this what you had in your trio this month?
Yeah, it is. You got it right.
So for sure, like this was such a perfect, I mean, look at that color, that combination. And so even if we don't get our crimps perfect and they're still a little bit showing, it's okay because it's still beautiful. So I'm just going to feed it through our lobster, feed it back in through our crimp tube. And then I'm going to take magical crimper. Do you like a magical crimper? Or are you a traditional crimper?
I use whatever pliers nearby.
I hear that.
But I like both. I like the magical crimper. I think it's cool.
Yeah. It's definitely a learning curve, so don't get discouraged, you guys. Like I've used it hundreds of times, and there's still like times where it's like, what is that I just did?
Is it your go-to though?
I think so, but that's just, I mean, I do love the idea of a folded crimp just for security. But sometimes I run out of those crimp covers, and I do like to have a crimp cover. So I made our little crimp bead. We're just going to feed on our beads a little bit through here, feed them all the way down. And I've already measured this to my wrist length. So I know that this will fit my wrist. But what I want to do is find our opposite bead on this side. And there's a little bit of room under there for that Soft Flex to move around freely. And so I'm going to go ahead and put that crimp tube on there. Feed it through here. And I'm going to leave it a little loose so that it can go over the smaller portion of the ring as well as the pinched portion. So I don't want to like close it off structurally. So I'm going to pull it through, pull it down. I'll go through one bead. Why not? All right. So you want to make sure there's a little bit of room there. Yeah, don't get too close. We want it to be able to breathe. Let her breathe a little. Okay. All right. All right, there's our crimp. And now we have our bracelets. What do you think?
Oh my God, will you try it on? I want to see it.
Okay, now it's going to clown me because it is a lobster, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll figure it out. Let's try it. I need one of those like bracelet helper things.
Yeah. Oh, you got it. You got it.
Here we go.
Cool.
Yes. So we have our statement piece, but it's still flat. So it is large.
Yeah.
But it's still flat. So if you're typing, it's not gonna like hurt. You know how sometimes you'll type and it's like the beads are digging into your wrist. So you kind of have that kind of vibe going on.
That's amazing.
I actually, I think I might, do you guys have any more of these rings? I might pick one up to make like a necklace for those.
Yeah. Oh my God, a matching necklace, like a whole set would be incredible.
Yeah. And so those are the two tutorials that I have for you guys.
Incredible. Will you lay out all these bracelets? I want to see them all together.
Yes, let me move all of, and look, I only had the one box. It may seem like I had two because of how many, like how many that we had. Let me get those stretch bracelets. Yeah. Sorry, probably making you a little sick there.
Incredible collection.
Yes. And these are just like, for any occasion. You want to be a little fancy. We go for our dangles. We want to be a little celestial. Okay. So here's the bracelet.
Cool. What do you guys think? Which is your favorite? Let us know in the comments.
We'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay. Well, so tell me the numbers again.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6.
I'm gonna have to go with 2 and 4. Those are my favorites. Those are the ones I could just walk away with right now.
Like, I just want to just pet that one. That green bead that's the perfect green to me. And this is a different color. It's not emerald. Do you know what
that's
color
more of a shamrock green is how I describe it.
It's perfect. Definitely.
How about you? What do you vote for?
Like on a day-to-day, I like my easy wearable ones because it goes with everything, because I kind of dress like a bum, on the normal. But if I were to go out and be like special, I would have to pick one of these for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And I just love the process of making that one. So it's just
I love that. I love all 6 of them. They're stunning. And you have a little bonus inspiration for us today. Is that right?
Yes. So just to show you guys some more things that you can make with literally one box. And I'll show you how much I have left over. But we have some earrings. And I'll start off with, I guess, the more simple ones. And that'll be these soft flex wire. So I used black onyx for this one. But I had to just have a pair of those earrings using those moon and star beads. And all I did was get a couple little like spacers from my stash and a little 6mm bicone. But those little rice beads up there, I thought it played really well with the tone of that, the moon and star bead. So I did I did those big loops at the top just to give it a little something. So those are
like
that's our
a little more neutral. Like those kind of like more silvers, the blacks, like more neutral colors, because that'll wear well with so many colors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I find like those are the ones we kind of gravitate towards the most, a lot of times, because even as jewelry designers, you're like, well, I'm wearing, a lot of my wardrobe is like grays and blacks, but I had to, Rachel. Do you see this?
Oh my gosh.
Is this not Miss Extra right here?
Incredible.
So I know like they came with these special components, and like I could have spread them out between like 2 necklaces or a bracelet, but I was like, let me have it all on my ears at once.
That is so much fun.
Yeah, and I used both of it was a Preciosa component at the bottom, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And they just, I mean, you guys know when you see these in person, you're just like, oh my goodness. And so I did put
on camera.
I did put a lever back on there so I don't lose them because they're special. And then I did a little wire wrap for the last pair. And these are like little ovals. Nothing too crazy. And if you like any of these, you can watch the tutorial on my channel. It's all up there for free. And I love this, like, this is actually one of my favorite beads out of the box, the lighter one in the mix. Yeah. Because, like, doesn't it glow?
It glows so well. And then against the purple, the twist. Oh, my God. You guys, I'm going to have linked in the description of this video. If you're watching here on Sam's Bead Shop, you've got to go over to Space Pickle Designs, to Kirk's YouTube channel, and you can see how to make all 3 of these earrings. You will want to try this.
Yes, and just as a sneak peek, I do organize my beads, but are we seeing how many beads I still have left?
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. I love that.
Yeah, and I still, I'm saving her for a special moment too, because have you used her yet?
No, I haven't, because we used the Preciosa and the Lariat. I haven't.
Yeah.
And I still have a lot of obsidian beads. I don't know. You might not even touch those yet.
I know. And I actually like making the tiny micro beads into a necklace, which sounds kind of like, what are you doing? But I think it's like, especially the ones that sparkle like that. Yeah. They're just so super pretty.
Oh, this collection is so special. Oh my God, this is so much incredible inspiration. I hope everyone is enjoying this. I think it's helpful to see so many different takes and ideas. I love this concept that you do of kind of multiple projects together.
Yes, ma'am. Here, I'll turn it back around just for the end here.
Sounds good. Yeah, definitely check out Kirk's channel if you want to get more inspiration. You make projects every month with the bead box. Is that right?
Yeah, I try to, especially like ones with like such beautiful beads like this. And so I try to get those blitzes out as much as I can just to help with the inspiration, because I think that's what we all like. I think even designers watch other people's videos to kind of see like what's going on.
Oh, that is amazing. Oh, well, thank you so much for bringing this to the Stay on the Bead Shop community, sharing your ideas and creativity. I appreciate it so much.
Absolutely, anytime.
Well, thank you all so much. Please check out the links in the description if you want to get one of these Northern Lights boxes. This was our March box. We still have some extras of it if you want to purchase one, or you can get subscribed and join us so that you can get next month's box, April, which I will not say the theme. I've already said that there's going to be drops in there that are in a great color mix, but that's all you're getting. That's the only secret you're getting from me. And
that's more than we've ever gotten, I think.
I know. Where did that come from? Don't tell Sam I said that. So check out that links. Check out Kirk's channel. And we're going to be back next Friday with even more inspiration using the Northern Lights box. We're trying to do a ton of classes for the anniversary. So come join us again. And thank you, Kirk. We will talk to you all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.